All systems go. Clear for takeoff.
What is going on, YouTube? Welcome to the NHL Quick Hit video presented by SHIPIT Nation. I'm going to be your guy all season long, have you covered for each and every single slate over here at SHIPITNation.com. First night of the season kicked off last night. Connor Bedard season. Blackhawks wiping those Penguins off the map as the biggest dog on the slate. We're back. We are back with the NHL season. Couldn't be more excited to kick this off with everyone over here at SHIPITNation.com, everyone out there on YouTube watching this video, watching this back. Obviously, these are pre-recorded shows here. If you could hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, helps us out a ton. And drop a comment down in the comment section, your favorite thing about NHL DFS, any questions you might have. We'll be popping back. Myself will be popping back, looking at those comments, picking future giveaway winners, things like that. And I did say this is brought to you by SHIPITNation.com over here. We have all sports for the best all-in rate in the industry, including our 5-day trial period here. Just $19 gets you access to each and every sport over here behind the paywall, including NFL, NBA shortly around the corner. NHL obviously just kicked off last night. We got PGA, we got MMA. You have it. You name it, we got it over here. Even college football, things like that. We have Discord channels set up and very, very profitable members posting and notes, content, things like that in the Discord. One thing with this 5-day trial, you do not get access to that Discord, which is so crucial to our site over here. One of the best Discords in the industry, if not the best Discord I've personally been a part of in my career in this industry. Over here, $19 does get you access to all of our premium content. SHIPITNation.com, head over there. We do have a 6-month package as well, and the full year along with the monthly package. Get in, head over there. We have all things covered. But I'm on this show to talk NHL. We got a 6-game slate on tap here. Little overview off the start of the top here. Talking team totals. The Bruins, obviously Boston, mopped up the floor last year, mopped up the ice, whatever you want to say. Laid an egg in the playoffs. Obviously didn't get the job done. They come back here this year. Over 5 implied goal total here. Toronto shortly behind them, sitting right around 5 implied goals as well. We got Edmonton, we got Carolina, we got Calgary up on the slate. 3 6.5 totals, or 2 6.5 totals, a 7 total out there in Edmonton, and then 2 6 totals, or 3 6 totals, The Blackhawks obviously on a back-to-back there. 6 total, the Jets, the Flames, and then the Avalanche and the Kings game also sitting at 6. We'll talk through it. Little structure I'm going to talk through game by game. Some plays I like. Obviously, this is a first look kind of show. All my premium content, core plays, slate plan, and everything else, including the premium matchup sheet, will be available to SHIPITNation.com members. Again, SHIPITNation.com, head over there to get access to all of that. We had a very good night last night in the streets, and I had Mr. Peter Mrazek on that slate there, 7K flat against the chalk of the slate. He dropped 28 DraftKings points last night. That was great to see. So all that premium content is behind the paywall, SHIPITNation.com. $69 a month does get you access to that. But again, $19, you can get access for a 5-day trial period. Take a look, see what we have to offer for all sports. Decide what you want to do. Hopefully you stick around. Hopefully you sign up for a month, 6-month, or a year package. We think it's the best in the industry over here. That's enough of the promo talk off the top here. Let's get into this slate. First game we got is Montreal heading into Toronto to face these Leafs. Korpisalo expected in net for this. Montreal, Toronto. Jake Allen, I was looking at the wrong game here. Jake Allen expected to be in net for Montreal, and Samsonov expected to be in net for Toronto. Obviously, Toronto, huge favorite, minus 277 at home here, implied to score over 5 goals. But one thing that stands out to me is Montreal. They had a lot of injuries last season, and I'm looking at these price points, especially on this top line for Montreal. And man, they are cheap. Josh Anderson at just 2,600. Cole the Goal, we called him last year before he got injured. He's just 4,200. I mean, this guy has absolutely crushed Toronto in his past last season before he got injured. He's smashed Toronto here. He's just 4,200. He's going to play a ton of minutes out there. Obviously, returning back from injury is a little scare, but that's one thing that off the top stands out to me is these price tags on these Montreal Canadiens are very cheap. That's one thing for sure. Toronto, just looking at last year's numbers, Toronto, they were the 5th best defense on home ice last year, just allowing right around 2.5 goals per game. Expected goals were the 3rd best in the league. So they are a good defensive team on home ice here, but Samsonov can definitely be leaky. He's going to be one of the highest owned goalies on the slate, likely at his price point at 8,400. Again, minus 277 favorite. I like some of these Montreal Canadiens as secondary GPP stacks because looking at these price points, I mean, they're just too cheap. 4,200 for Cole Caulfield. That's too cheap for his upside, his talent level. I think he's a complete stud. He crushed last season when he was in there. Josh Anderson at just 2,600, skating on that top line, going to get power play run at 2,600. That's the Lars Eller play from yesterday, right? Lars Eller was 2,600, didn't get any power play time, but everyone wanted to play him because he was one of the best value plays on the slate. Now Josh Anderson, who's going to be involved in this offense all season long and getting power play time, he's just 2,600, so that sticks out to me. Obviously, the big dogs for Toronto, you can always play those guys, right? The Austin Matthews, John Tavares, Mitchell Marners, Nylander. I mean, those guys go without saying. The Canadiens, one thing about these Montreal Canadiens last year is they were the best home defense, or the away defense on away ice, right? Allowing just 2.5 goals, under 2.5 goals per game on the road here. So Toronto, obviously a great home offense, but Montreal was very good last season on away ice in terms of limited in goals, very good numbers. So overall, if I was going to Toronto, which I do think Toronto gets a lot of ownership here, I would target the power play because that is the best matchup for Toronto here. So you're talking power play, you're talking Austin Matthews, John Tavares, Mitchell Marner, Will Nylander is that top power play there. And then obviously you can throw in the D-man there that centers that power play as well. But I think I'm going to be under on Toronto here. I'm going to be honest with you. I like Jake Allen a lot in this game. Jake Allen's going to get peppered with shots. I've always liked Jake Allen. He's won me a ton of money last season, the year before. Over the years, he's just 6,900. It's kind of the same play as the Peter Mrazek play yesterday. The thing I look for in NHL DFS, especially with goalies, is I want shot volume number one because that 35 save bonus on DraftKings is huge. FanDuel is a whole different story. We'll talk about that a little briefly as well at the end. But on DraftKings, that 35 save bonus, if your goalie can get to that, even if he lets in 2 or 3 goals, there's a pretty good chance if he's cheap that he's going to post a good score and definitely help get you up into some of these other spend ups like the Connor McDavids, the Connor Bedards, those guys on the slate. Obviously, we have a lot of spend ups. Austin Matthews is one of them. But Jake Allen at just 6,900, he's one of my favorite GPP goaltenders on the entire slate. He's fared pretty well against Toronto in the past. And the thing about Toronto is they shoot the puck a lot. Last year, they averaged right around 34 shots per game. So if they can get a little bit more shots on net there, he gets 35 saves, you're sitting pretty at 6,900. So overall on this game, Montreal, I think they have very, very cheap price points. I think they're getting overlooked. It is still a 6.5 total here. Obviously, majority of that total is on the Toronto side here. I'm going to be a little under on Toronto here. I think they come in pretty chalky on the slate. These Montreal prices are just too cheap. If they get 1 goal or 2 goals, they can pay off their price point. Whereas if you're looking at Toronto, they need to score, and they need to score condensed, right? That's one thing in NHL DFS is when these price points are up there, you want condensed scoring when you're paying a premium like the Austin Matthews price point, right, at 9,400. John Tavares would be my preferred between the two just because he's $3,000 cheaper, still gets that top power play line. He's going to get that second line work with Nylander and Max Domi there. So Toronto, top power play or the second line would be my preferred if you're going there, but I am a little bit under on them in general. Let's jump in the next game here. We have Ottawa and Carolina. Games in Carolina. Obviously, Carolina, second best team in the league last season behind Boston in that division over there. This game's interesting. Ottawa comes back. They're strong. Ottawa's got a very, very strong top line, very depth, right? With Brady Tkachuk, Giroux, and Timmy Stu on that top line. So they're very, very good. They got Bathbaum, Drake Batherson in the second line, Joseph, and Ridley Gregg. So they did lose a little depth this year with the trades over the offseason. So this game overall, I mean, Carolina, very, very stifling on home ice. Third best defense in the league last season long on home ice. They don't allow a lot of expected goals, and they allowed the least shots per game. So you're really trying to strike gold if you're going to Ottawa here. Obviously, you can do it. I think there's better spots. There's 6-game slate. There's much better spots on this slate to target. So overall, in terms of the Ottawa side, I'm out on Ottawa in this game, just especially at these price points. Timmy Stew's 7,200. He needs to do a lot to pay off that price point, and against a very, very good defensive team, especially at home, who can dictate the matchups like Carolina can here. I'm going to be under on Ottawa for sure. On the Carolina side is definitely interesting. The Senators last year were not very good on the road in terms of defensive wise, allowing right around 3.4 goals per game. Expected goals were up over 3 as well. Allow a lot of shots. They do have a good penalty kill, so it would be more full strength lines and not penalty. Obviously, you can always add in power play correlation. Typically is how I like to build NHL DFS. But for this game, if I'm going to Carolina, I would be looking at the full strength line. The price point on Sebastian Aho really stands out at home here. He hasn't had the greatest success against Ottawa, but he's 6,500 as the top line center. He's very, very talented, very good. Going to be heavily involved in the offense. And with them being at home, I think they can dictate the matchups, get Aho in some clean ice, better matchups, weaker matchups to go out there and score some goals. So I like that top line quite a bit for Carolina. They just got a nice price point overall. Sebastian Aho's price point stands out very, very strong to me overall. Brent Burns at 7K. He's obviously an elite D-man. He's done well against Ottawa in the past as well. I just typically don't like spending up too much for D-man outside of like a Roman Josi, some of those top-end guys. So Brent Burns, I'm probably out on him up at the top. But overall, Carolina, I like that. Seth Jarvis is very, very affordable, 5,500. Top line, top power play there. Line stack with Sebastian Aho. And then newly acquired Michael Bunting there. You can always throw him in there to get that correlation with that top line. So pretty much for me, Carolina top line in play. You can definitely go down in the second or third lines. Obviously, Carolina implied to score right around 4 goals in this game. Ottawa's been very leaky in net. So do think Carolina's a good place here. Not one of my favorite stacks, just because the thing about Carolina we saw all season last year is you never know where the goals are coming from. They're so deep. They score from everyone. I always made the joke last season, right? Even the water boy, even the coach out there scores. Even the guy in the press box can score a goal from Carolina. So that's one thing to watch out for. Typically don't love it too much because of that reason. But the Sebastian Aho, Seth Jarvis, because they are full line and power play correlated, I think that's a nice little 2-man mini stack. If it makes your lineup fit, you need a 2-man stack, you can definitely go to those guys. The next game here, this one is definitely lopsided in my opinion. Obviously, newly the greatest prospect, right? All the talk of the NHL, Connor Bedard, right, in Chicago, came back in the third period yesterday, beat Pittsburgh. I mean, the kid's going to be a complete stud. Had 6 shots on net, I think, 5 or 6 shots on net. Didn't score a goal, but, I mean, Chicago on a back-to-back here. With Trout heading into Boston. I mean, I just think this is an absolute beatdown spot here. Second game of the season, and they're already playing a back-to-back. Typically, I don't like targeting back-to-backs. One thing for all the bettors out there, first period puck line and first period team total over for Boston. I would definitely bet that. Obviously, with Chicago coming into town on a back-to-back, Soderblom's going to be in net, the backup keeper there. Obviously, Mrazek's not going to go back-to-back here. Boston's going to come back. They're going to be spiteful this year. They didn't get the job done. Everyone was talking about them. They were breaking records last season in terms of wins, in terms of goal differential. Didn't get the job done. Didn't get home to the Stanley Cup. They're going to come back with a vengeance here and be very hungry this season, in my opinion. And I think this is a great smash them in the mouth spot here. Obviously, all the talk about against Connor Bedard coming into town. The only thing is with Boston here, looking at these price points, I mean, David Pasternak's up almost 10K. You got McDavid and Leon Draisaitl in a smash spot against Vancouver as the late night hammer game. Pasternak might go a little overlooked due to that, but he's got a very healthy projection. Obviously, he's playing Chicago on a back-to-back, so could go there. But looking at numbers from last season long, I mean, Chicago was actually pretty solid on the road in terms of allowing goals. 2.83 all season long on the road. But again, Soderblom, back-to-back, coming into Boston. It's just a tough spot here for Chicago. I think Boston punches them in the mouth. And the thing that I like about that is I like looking at some of these depth lines then, if that's the case. If I think a team's going to crush the other team, I like some of these depth guys because when it gets later into the game, they're not going to be running Pastrnak out there. They're not going to be running these guys out there on that ice and risking injury, or they're going to give these depth guys, the third liners, more ice time. So I do like Boston 3 a little bit here as a depth, cheap value fillers. Looking at them, Jake DeBrusk 6,100. I don't really love that price point on that second line. Obviously, he's skating with Charlie Coyle and Marchand there. Pretty much in this game, it's the depth guys or the value guys for me for Boston. Obviously, you can play Connor Bedard. He's just got shot block upside. I mean, he hits that shot bonus on DraftKings. I'm pretty sure he's going to be a candidate to hit that all season long. I mean, this guy's just completely super talented. They're calling him the next McDavid 2.0. So you can always play him as a one-off. Really don't love it here. Boston's just very, very, very good. They were the best defensive team in the league last year on home ice, allowing under 2 goals per game. Expected goals sitting right around 2.5. So overall, Chicago, full fade for me. Boston, just the depth guys. Don't really love targeting Boston here. They're going to get a lot of ownership. Highest implied goal total on the slate. I'm going to be a little bit under on them. I'm a little bit over the Edmonton. I like Carolina mini stacks a little bit. We'll talk about some of these other games, Winnipeg, Colorado, things like that. So a little bit under on the big guys for Boston, just at those price points. Depth guys for me, pretty much only in that one. Next game here, we have Winnipeg and Calgary. Obviously, Calgary at home here. Looking at the total, it's a 6 total. Calgary, slight favorites here at home against Winnipeg. Looking at last year's numbers, the Jets were actually the best road scoring team in the entire league, averaging over 4 goals per game. I think the Jets are interesting here. I always make a joke, right? It's Winnipeg Wednesday. There's no science behind that. It's just I always love the Jets. The Jets always go overlooked. Kyle Connor is, I think, one of the best players in the league, and he's just 6,700 in this spot. He's skating with newly acquired Vilardi there from the Kings and Scheifele. I like that top line here for Winnipeg. I also like that second line. One thing to note, Ehlers is game time decision, so definitely have to pay attention to that. I like him if he's playing here for sure. I like these Jets in this spot against Calgary. I think this line is wrong. I think Winnipeg wins this game. Connor Hellebuyck, one of my favorite goaltenders as well on this slate. He's going to be in that for Winnipeg. I think he's a great goaltender. He's been good. He's 7,500. That's a nice price point. He's been very, very, very good against Calgary in the past. So he's one of my favorite goalkeepers on the entire slate. And yeah, Winnipeg's one of my favorite stacks. Gabe Vilardi, newly acquired, like I said, 4,300. He's smashed Calgary in his past. Top line, top power play, 4.3K. He's a great, great value play. Ehlers is going to skate on that second line, second power play. If he does play, again, he has a game time decision. He's got a good matchup as well. I think he makes some sense at just 4,800. So I like these price points on Winnipeg. Alex Iafallo is stone minimum, 2.5K. Slated to slide in on that top power play at minimum price, skating on that third line. That's a nice value play there that stands out as well. So I do like the Winnipeg side in this game here. I think the line's wrong. I think Winnipeg comes into Calgary. I was just not a believer in Calgary last season. So I think Winnipeg comes in here and wins the game. I'm going to be honest with you. I like the Jets in this one. On Calgary, not a ton of interest in Calgary. I just like Winnipeg. Like I said, Hellebuyck's one of my favorite tenders. So I'm out on Calgary in this one. Give me the Winnipeg side. Next game, we have 2 games left. Talking Colorado, we're talking LA. Games in Los Angeles here. Colorado coming to town. Colorado was looking like one of the best teams, if not the best team on paper last season. Obviously, they were riddled with injuries. Matt McKinnon got hurt. Rantanen got hurt. They're all back. They're all healthy. Makar got hurt for a while. These guys are all back. The big dogs are all back in town here, heading into LA to face the Kings. The Kings were a very, very surprising team overall last season. They were very good. Cam Talbot going to start here. He's coming over for the Kings. He's 7,600 here. I don't love Talbot much, so I do think Colorado here could could do some damage. The only issue is due to the numbers, looking at last season numbers, the numbers are definitely a little bit skewed because, again, all the injuries that Colorado did have. Colorado last season on the road was the worst scoring season over the 41-game sample on the road, averaging just 2.1 goals per game. Expected goals were the second worst in the league as well. So overall, I think Colorado can definitely be played. I don't love it here. But looking at even more of the numbers, I mean, the Kings at home were one of the best home scoring offenses, 6th in the league. And Colorado, again, on the defense, was definitely one of the bottom tier teams in terms of defense, allowing over 3.5 goals per game. Expected goals were right there, over 3.5. They didn't have a very good penalty kill. They allowed the second most high danger chances in the league. So looking at this game, I mean, I think the Kings are sneaky here, and these price points on these Kings, Ans Kopitar at that top line, just 5.3K, very nice price point there. He smashed Colorado in his pass. I like these, so I actually like this Kings top line a little bit here. They're going to be chasing around McKinnon. It's going to be a tough matchup, but I think the Kings get up for this one. Obviously, McKinnon, a healthy Colorado team coming to town here. These Kings, I think, definitely go underlooked in this one. Obviously, being a home dog here, plus 111. Colorado being a road favorite is definitely interesting to me because Colorado did not have the pieces together last season long, despite the injuries, all that. So give me the Kings, actually. Give me the Kings in this one. I like the Kings price points on these. Dubois back on from the Oilers, or excuse me, from the Jets coming over the Kings. I think the Kings top line, the second line are firmly in play for me. You can definitely play the big dogs, McKinnon, Rantanen, Cale Makar, those guys over there, Valerie Nishkin, Lakeinen, the big dogs for Colorado. But I'm actually on the Kings side in this game personally. I think the line's slightly wrong here. Again, Kings were very good last season. I think they continue to be that. And Cam Talbot, you can argue, is definitely not the worst tender. He came over from Calgary. Obviously, Jonathan Quick's out of there in LA. So give me the Kings, actually, in this one, now that I'm thinking about it more, just talking through it, kind of first look here. This is just off the top, going through the slate as a high-level overview. Again, all my content and final thoughts, final core plays, slate plan, everything like that will be up on the site here shortly after this video for premium members. But yeah, I like the Kings in this one. Last game on the slate, we're going to jump out to Vancouver, Edmonton, heading into Vancouver there. Little rivalry here, little Colorado, or Colorado. Just got off the Colorado game. Little Canada, little battle here between Edmonton and Vancouver. Vancouver was absolutely a mess last season. With the locker room was a mess, management was a mess, everything going on out there. And Edmonton, I mean, we know what Edmonton is. They got McDavid, the best player in the league, right? Leon Draisaitl shortly behind him, Nugent Hopkins, Zach Hyman. Edmonton's full strength. They got everyone. And I think Edmonton absolutely smashes them here. I love McDavid, 9,800. It's an expensive price point. There's value on the slate. I talked about the Montreal value. I talked about some of the Kings value pieces. Winnipeg's got some value pieces. I think Edmonton absolutely smashes the Nucks here. It's not a hot take by any means. It is the biggest total on the slate, sitting at 7. But Edmonton's not a massive favorite. I mean, they're only minus 153, kind of in the middle ground. Toronto's heavier favorite. Obviously, Boston, heavier favorite. Carolina, heavier favorite. So Oilers, 4th biggest favorite on the slate on just a 6-game slate here. I think Edmonton comes into Vancouver here and absolutely stomps the Canucks here. Vancouver was terrible on home ice last year, had the second worst penalty kill in the league. And, well, if you look on the other side of the puck, Edmonton, the best power play in the league. If you put Edmonton on the power play, I mean, they're going to score. That top power play is absolutely lethal. I love the top power play. McDavid, Leon, Draisaitl, Bouchard is going to be up there centering that power play. Don't love him a ton, but he's, especially at his price point, 6,100. I don't love Bouchard, so I'd probably leave him out, actually. I would probably do like a McDavid, Leon, Hyman, Nugent Hopkins, or like grab one of McDavid, one of Leon, and throw in Hyman, Ryan Nugent Hopkins. Nugent Hopkins, second line, top power play at just 5,100. I've always loved this guy. He was great last season, and 5,100 is too cheap for him, so I love him. his line mate right there, Zach Hyman. I love that little mini stack. Hyman, Nugent Hopkins, and grabbing McDavid. McDavid skates full strength, first line, top power play, and then Hyman and RNH, Nugent Hopkins, skate together on the second line and that top power play. You have a fully correlated stack there. Hyman just 5,800, Nugent Hopkins 5,100. That's too cheap. I love Edmonton's top line here. Not a hot take by any means, but Edmonton's going to be my favorite stack of the day. Even ahead of Boston, even ahead of Carolina, even ahead of Toronto. The other higher favorites that I do think also draw ownership on this slate. Just looking at goalies real quick, I already talked on Jake Allen. I think Jake Allen's price point for the shot volume he's going to see can definitely get the job done, even if he does lose the game overall. I like Connor Hellebuck a lot at his $7,500 price point. Freddie Anderson at home. Carolina is just a good team. I just don't think he's going to see the shot volume. I mean, Ottawa, 30th in the league last year in shots for, not very good. So I don't love Anderson at the price point up at the top. Pretty much for me, Connor Hellebuck's my favorite goalie on the slate, followed by Jake Allen for the price point savings. And then I would throw in Stuart Skinner up at the top if I'm spending at 8K, just because I love Edmonton. I think Edmonton smashes. Vancouver's still going to shoot the puck. They're going to shoot the puck. They're going to have to shoot the puck if the way that I think the game's going to go. So that's kind of where I'm sitting. Again, my final thoughts will be available on SHIPITNation.com to premium members. Head over there. You can get in right now. Lowest $19 a month. Get you access to all the premium content. And if you guys have questions, drop them in the comment section. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Again, this is a new show, NHL. Going to be doing these shows for every slate over 4 games all season long. If you guys have any suggestions in terms of feedback or structure or any other things that you want to talk about, definitely post those in the comments as well. Obviously, this is the first show here. Kind of went through it real quick, talked some high-level stuff. So any feedback, definitely appreciated. But that's going to do it for the NHL Quick Hit today, October 11th, 2023. I'm Nades. Good luck today in your contest. Again, SHIPITNation.com will get you access to all the premium content. You'll get my final thoughts. Hopefully you guys have a great night in the NHL streets. Let's ship it.